Where are you from? California. Figures.
Hi, how are you today? It's Mike. I just wanted to talk today. I've had some questions and talking to some people about moving here from California and actually some other states, on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, but primarily coming over here from California. A lot of our local residents see a lot of California license plates over here, and is it something new? Not really. I mean, we probably get 100,000 people moving here from California every year. I think this year or over the last 2 years or year and a half with this COVID thing, work at home where people have the ability now to live wherever they want to live. I think a lot of people have looked at Arizona, probably number one, because they have friends or family that already live over here. Number two, the proximity to California. You can fly back and forth to Los Angeles in a little over an hour, 2 hours up to San Francisco. People wonder, well, why is everybody moving here from California? Arizona was definitely much more affordable than California in the past. The housing, a few years ago, a house in South Scottsdale you could pick up for $325,000. Now this exact same house, you're probably looking at $400,000 to $450,000. That's probably over the last year and a half, 2 years. And different parts of the city in the whole area, the greater Phoenix area, have grown differently. It just depends on where you're at in the valley. If you were just to show up in an airport in any major city and say, where am I going to live, if you didn't know the area, you really wouldn't know exactly where you wanted to live by just, showing up over here. A lot of people have heard of Scottsdale because you have the TPC golf tournament. Phoenix, of course, is the major city. And a lot of people have been to Phoenix or heard of Phoenix or flown through Phoenix. And ultimately, it's just the fact that people are familiar with it and it's really close to California. And I think that's one of the reasons that people look at it. The main reason they look at it, though, is still affordability, because even though it's gone up substantially over the last 2 or 3 years, it's basically still much less expensive than it is in Los Angeles and for sure in San Francisco. I have nephews that live in San Francisco. My sisters both used to live over there, and originally we're from Chicago, and then I lived in Atlanta for a couple years. And when I moved out west, I basically tried the Los Angeles area, staying with one of my sisters, and then I would move back to see my aunt who lived in Mesa, Arizona, and I would explore Arizona. Just for me, it was the same thing. I looked at what money I had and could I afford a home over in California? I could have afforded a home, but it wouldn't have been financially comfortable for me to have the kind of home I wanted to have. So when I moved over lived in Mesa, and I would live here for a month or two, then I'd live in Los Angeles for a month or two, just trying to get a feel for the area, because I was living in Atlanta when I made the transition, and it was new for me. But ultimately what it came down to, again, I think a lot of the people moving over here are coming from California based on affordability, number one. Number two, we do have a lot of growth. The fact that the state, because of the growth, is got a lot of new areas. Over in Los Angeles and San Francisco, they're established areas. They don't have a lot of room to grow. And so everything that you're going to experience over there is older. Over here, because we had so much land available, you have a lot of new shopping centers. The buildings are new, the roads are new, the parking structures are new. Overall, Phoenix has grown so much over the last 10 or 15 years that everything's fairly new in comparison, to properties and areas that were established maybe 75 to 100 years ago. and their growth was limited based on their terrain. We're a fairly flat area here, so the growth could just expand out, and that's basically what's happening right now. The new areas where the new suburbs are going to start growing substantially is going to be out on the outskirts of town in Buckeye, down in Maricopa. Just basically follow the freeway and you can follow the growth. If you take the 10 freeway out of Phoenix and head out to the west towards Los Angeles, you're going to just see tons of growth because there's just a lot of farmland out in that area. The one thing Arizona's always got to worry about as they grow is the water. In Phoenix, they don't talk about it as much as they do other parts of Arizona. I used to have a home in Prescott, Arizona, which is north of Phoenix, a couple hours, and it was a big deal there. It was literally in the newspaper seemed like every week. And down in Tucson, there's an aquifer down there, and there's talk about them running out of water. I think overall up in the Phoenix area, they've done a pretty good job with water management. And, I don't think it's as big of a deal here. At least it's not talked about as big of a deal as it is in some other areas. So when you're looking at the differences when you want to move over to Phoenix versus Los Angeles, for an example, or San Francisco, you wonder, well, what's the main differences? Like, besides affordability, what do you notice? And again, I just noticed that it's just a lot less of a hassle to live over here. Everything you did over there was a big deal, right? I mean, you wanted to go get your car washed on a weekend. You only had one car wash to go to, and everybody was trying to get into the same place. It seemed like you could wait in line for an hour just to get your car dropped off and then wait for your car to get washed after that. Restaurants, movie theaters, it just seemed like everywhere I went over there, it was a little bit of a hassle to get it, to get in. It's like everybody was going to do the same things at the same time. And there was just such a high density of people in such small areas, where over here in Arizona, being that it's just so spread out, it's just a different living experience altogether. I really enjoyed, again, the fact that things are newer, it's easy to get around. The Phoenix area, there's no comparison between the Phoenix area and the Tucson area. Tucson, Arizona is a really, it wouldn't be my place to live, let's put it that way. I mean, it's just totally different type of city because you have the big mountain range, the Catalina mountain range down around the area. The roads, there's just no straight shot, no easy way to get around down there. And the roads are in horrible shape. I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine living there. My brother lives down there because he works for a company, a big defense contractor down there, Raytheon. But other than that, I mean, it's just, Phoenix was built on a grid system. Everything pretty much runs north, south, east, west. For an example, if an address is 4100 north, the fact that it's an odd number means it's on the left side of the street. And if it was 4200, it'd be on the right side of the street. Everything starts down in Phoenix off Central Avenue, that's 0. Everything to the east of that is a street. Everything to the west of it is an avenue. It's basically one big grid system, and it's very easy to get around. Then you have the 101 freeway, which kind of circles the whole greater Phoenix area. And then, the I-10 cuts through there. And then you have the, down south, they built a new freeway called the 202. And then out west, they built the new 303. And they just keep extending basically off the 101 freeway that loops all the way around the area. So again, getting back to everything, as far as the weather, here in Arizona, it's great weather, but it's not the weather of California. I mean, in California, you have much more moderate climate. San Francisco being a little bit different, Los Angeles and San Diego, it's darn near perfect all the time, and it's heaven. I don't know what else to say about it. It's great weather. And the one other thing that's major there is they have the beach. I mean, there's nothing like the beach for many people. And I can just tell people all the time, if you're coming from Florida or somewhere where you're used to the beach, this isn't the place for you. I mean, you're going to see the mountains, you're going to see desert landscaping. And if that doesn't, if you don't like the look of it and you think it's brown and ugly, well, then this probably isn't going to be the place for you to live. I love the desert. I love the mountains. I live right by Camelback Mountain. And every day when I get up and I look at that mountain, I think I'm in heaven. I just love it. I love driving to the gym in the morning. I love driving by my beautiful golf courses here. That's another thing, for doing other activities, driving to a golf course over in California for my nephews. One lives in Los Angeles now, one's in San Francisco. I mean, it's a big deal. It's hard to get on a golf course and the prices are very expensive. Where here we have a lot of options. You may have to go get cheaper. Maybe you leave Scottsdale and you drive out to Mesa and you play in Mesa. But we have over 200 golf courses here in the Phoenix metro area. And just depending on where you live, it's just easy access to them. And golf's one of my favorite things to do as an outdoor activity. I love being in nature. I love the camaraderie with the guys. And I just love the way they manicure the horses. So, you can't compare the weather here to California's weather because California is, depending on where you live, again, of course, they have warm areas and they have cooler areas too. The one thing I think that a lot of people moving to Arizona that are coming maybe from colder climates, they think it's going to be hot here all the time. It's very warm in the summer, but in the winter, it's cold. I mean, this morning it was 38 degrees when I woke up, and for me, that's freezing cold. I mean, that's long underwear weather for me. But overall, what I love about it is because I'm from Chicago originally and I'm used to cold winters, it's not severe like that. It's still warmed up today to probably 65 degrees. And I'm wearing a sweater and I feel great. The sun is shining all day. It's a beautiful day. And, I love it. But again, if people come here expecting to have warm winters, where they can jump in their pool in the winter, that's not the case. It's going to get cold. And the biggest thing is because we're so dry, we get about a 20-degree temperature variant from morning to evening. In other words, let's say the hottest part of our day is 4 in the afternoon and it's 60 degrees. Well, at night it's going to get down to 40 degrees and it's going to feel, really cold. So, as far as the weather here, it's not perfect. Summers are very, very hot. I mean, are they unbearable? To some people they are. When I lived in Chicago, we would take vacations in the winter. In Arizona, you take your vacations in the summer. I mean, it's just the opposite. So it's just a different way of life here that way, but you get used to it and summers do become unbearable at times, but it's, like I said, it's a quick 1 hour flight over to California, a 4 or 5, 6 hour drive, depending on where you go to the beach. And that's what people do. They leave here. A 2.5 hour drive from my house and I'm up in Flagstaff and I can go skiing. So I could go skiing tomorrow afternoon if I want, and then I can be back down in, moderate weather after that. So, again, I think basically when you move over here, it's not for everybody, believe me. And when you're coming over here from California, the people over here are friendly. When I lived in Los Angeles, I literally felt like I was never going to have any real friends. My sister lived in a very affluent area of Los Angeles, and the neighbors weren't friendly. I'd go to the gym, nobody seemed friendly. I mean, it just, to me, you go to the grocery store here and you think the people helping you were your best friends. You've known them your whole life. I mean, I don't know if it's because the sun shines here every day. I mean, it shines a lot in California too, but it's just really nice over here. It's definitely in the summer, you have to slow your pace down. You have to be careful. You have to wear sunscreen. I've had some bouts of skin cancer and stuff to deal with. I usually wear a hat, so in a lot of my videos, you'll see me wearing a baseball cap. It's just something you have to do. You have to use good skincare products. But overall, if you can find a good job over here, or work from home, it is definitely going to give you a more affordable option and a different quality of life. I definitely feel like it's a better quality of life not for everybody, but for most people. If you like a little bit less of a rat race, we don't have an abundance of homeless people in every street corner here. Overall, the politics of Arizona have been pretty much in the middle, and it's really, it's a lot of people with some good values, and it's just been a great place to live. As far as the major sporting events and stuff, you have the Cardinals, you have great pro football, you have Diamondbacks for great pro baseball, the Suns for basketball. So you have all that going on, and you also have Arizona State University to get involved with, and they have a lot of stuff that culturally you can go to and explore. They have the sports, and it's just great for just about everything you want to do. And it's really, definitely there's a lot of traffic, but it's not LA traffic. It's not San Francisco traffic. And it just, depends on what you want, what you make and what you can afford as to where you want to live. What's most important to you? Is it the schools for the kids? Is it the proximity to your job? Is it the mountains? Do you want to live near the mountains? Do you want to live in an isolated area? Do you want to live in a populated area? And even though Phoenix is a major city, and you could say, go to downtown Phoenix, that's where I want to live, it's still not overly populated like, being downtown Los Angeles. It's still more spread out. It's, and there's good and bad areas, throughout the valley. It's just like any major city. There's expensive areas and there's less expensive areas. It really depends on where you want to live and where you work. So I hope this helped a little bit with your thoughts about moving over to Arizona. I mean, basically, I was looking at an affordability calendar, and it was showing that, right now in Los Angeles, many things were equal, but the one thing that was the primary difference was housing affordability, which Los Angeles was, out of a neutral score of 100, Phoenix was 130, and Los Angeles was over 100, 170. So in general, it's about 50 to 70% more expensive, just depending on where you live. So, and the other thing is too, for a lot of people is, they've never had the experience of owning a newer home. So there's a lot of new home construction in here that's not that far out that you can go into and, move into a beautiful newer home, something maybe you could only rent over in California, and you'd be able to afford it over here. There's definitely going to be some price stabilization once the interest rates start to come up a little bit. I think once we get through this COVID once and for all, where people, they find out if they're going to have to go back to their job or not. I think a lot of people, finalizing their decisions on whether they're going to retire early or not. Because again, in Arizona, it's a big retirement area, because it is more affordable, because it has good weather. People are moving here. We have as many people moving here to retire as we do, basically from California and the West Coast. So anyway, I hope this helps a little bit. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Watch some of our other videos on living in, Arizona, and subscribe to our videos if you could. Get an update every week when we release some new ones. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Watch the next one coming up here in recommended videos. Talk to you soon.